finding that on a day-to-day basis, you are struggling with kind of keeping your household in order because your children are all over the place, they're constantly having meltdowns or constantly throwing tantrums, or they're just not listening, and it just seems like a big bowl of chaos, like every day, in and out, in and out. Well, there's one thing that is very commonly overlooked, and that is the magic of structure. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 reasons why every child needs structure in their lives. So the first reason why every child needs structure is because structure is what helps build up security and what helps children feel safe. When a child's day is full of uncertainty, this can lead to stress and maybe even some anxiety. But when a child has set predictable routines and some set structure in their lives, this can help the child feel a little bit more secure. So one way that you can start implementing some very simple structure and some very simple routines in your child's life is to start establishing a set routine throughout their day. So for example, you can take their morning routine and set it up so that every single day, these are the steps that we're doing, right? When we first wake up, what are we gonna do? We're gonna brush our teeth, then we're going to wash our face, then we're going to get dressed, and then we're gonna go downstairs for breakfast. So 4 very simple steps, but these 4 simple steps, if you repeat them day in and day out, they become more embedded in that child, and the child learns and knows what to expect upon waking up in the morning. The same applies, for example, for a bedtime routine. I often have a lot of families who talk about they have a hard time with getting their kid to go down for bed at night. But then when I ask the parents, like, well, what bedtime routine do you have? They don't really have one. And so I always advise parents to start by developing a bedtime routine for their child. So the bedtime routine can be something very, very simple. It could be, okay, after dinner, we're going to take a bath, and then we're going to put on our PJs, we're going to read 1 book, and then lights out. This can lead eventually to less meltdowns and less tantrums and less arguing back and forth because that child already knows the steps and the structure that is expected of them. Another reason why structure is so important in every child's life is because it can actually lead to better behavior. When expectations are clear, children are less likely to act out. When they know what's coming next and what's to be expected next, this can help to reduce those power struggles that you may find yourself having on a day-to-day basis. So another tool that I highly recommend is the use of visual schedules. So you can take pictures of common things around the house and set up a schedule for your child so they can visually see and know what to expect in their day-to-day. This can help your child to follow along with the schedule, which can also help them feel like they have a little bit more control over what's going on in their day-to-day. Which leads me to reason number 3 that every child needs structure in their lives is because this can help to build independence and responsibility with your child. When kids follow daily routines, they learn responsibility. Instead of you always having to tell your child, oh, you need to clean up, it's time for quiet time, they may understand that, oh, okay, after we play this, it's always quiet time, so I'm gonna start cleaning up my toys, right? Or I'm gonna put my own plate away, or I'm gonna throw my own garbage in the garbage can. So setting up that structure and routine can help your child to start to learn how to complete and engage in activities without you always having to be the one to initiate it. So make sure you are giving your child age-appropriate responsibilities and age-appropriate duties, because you are also helping them in the long run to become that much more independent. Next reason why every child needs structure is because it helps to support their learning and development. Having structured routines can help a child stay more focused and more engaged in the activity that they are playing with or engaging with at that moment. And when a child is more focused and engaged, this helps make learning that much easier. And another suggestion that I often make to the parents that I work with is for them to set up a designated space for their child that is dedicated only for focus time or focused learning. So this way the child knows when they transition to this certain space in the house, this is quiet time, or this is learning time, or this is where we focus. Separating your environment from playtime to quiet time or playtime to focus time can make a huge difference, and having those visual cues and those visual prompts can really help the child learn how to differentiate that as well. And the fifth reason why every child needs structure is because it can make daily transitions a little bit easier. Now, I know that transitions from big things and big things that are fun for children, such as transitioning away from the park or transitioning away from a fun game, can be very, very hard. But if you have structured tools already in place, this can really help. So for example, you could use verbal warnings such as counting down, or what I like to recommend is the use of visual plus auditory or listening cues. So for example, I often like to use what's called like a child countdown timer. So the child can visually see when the time is going off or when the time runs out, then it's time to leave. So instead of you being the one to always have to bark the orders, you can say, oh, look at the timer. When the timer runs out or when the timer changes from green to red, then that means it's time to go. So having even tools to help you with that structure can also be a game changer for you and your child. So remember, structure is not necessarily about having strict rules, right? We know that every day cannot always be the same. So it's okay if you leave a little wiggle room for some spontaneous play or some flexibility in your child's schedule, because we want them to be able to follow structure and routine, but we also want them to be able to be flexible in case things don't go as planned. So I would highly recommend that you use those visual schedules, use those visual timers, use those designated play versus focus time areas in your house, but every now and then switch it up a little bit and see how your child responds to it. If your child is one that can be a little bit flexible, then that's awesome. But if you find that your child is having trouble with new things or trying something new, then number one, you may want to start slowly working on your child being able to try new things or be a little bit more flexible. And two, you may also want to reach out to your pediatrician just to make sure that there are no underlying like medical or developmental reasons going on as to why your child is having such a hard time with changes in routine or changes in their day-to-day. So my advice to you is to start implementing more structure in your day-to-day lives so that you are creating a more predictable and secure environment for your child. So let me know in the comments below, which of these tips are you going to start implementing? And also, if you find that you do have a child that has a really hard time with making those transitions, be sure to watch this next video.